Yo, yo, what up? Welcome to RF Deal Desk. What's going on? What's going on, people? Let me pop open my comments. What's going on? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. This is not where I was supposed to be. Hold on. Here we go. I'm going to grab this play. We're going to run this play. It's going to be a good one. And let me grab this. Here we go. Boop. And then we're going to grab our deal finder, of course. And we're going to get right into it. All right. So if you've never been to a deal desk and this is your first one, pay attention. Check this out. I review deals live. I've decided to keep the mustache because I must ask you a question. Just kidding. That's my lame joke of the day, but I like it. I review deals live with you, whether they're wholesale, reverse flip, right, which is turning dead deals into something, curative title based, novations, even subject twos, right? Just real estate deals in general. We also talk about business, data, anything in the real estate business related. But the primary focus of what we actually do here, which is my favorite part, is when people come and they bring real deals and they're like, hey, Will, 123 Main Street, can you run that for me? Can you run the play? Which is what I call underwriting, right? Real underwriting, not just checking out comps and saying, hey, man, 80% of ARV minus repair minus your wholesale fee. Yay, the Mayo formula. Real underwriting. I show you what to look for. I show you how to look for it. And I show you how I, after 9+ years of real estate investing, how I look at deals and what I look for them, where I look for them, and how I look at them, right? In the context of the county sites and the civil case search, which is, the docket, and then the official record search, which is the clerk of courts, and all this other kind of stuff. And I look at liens, and I look at judgments, and I look at, stacking lists, and I look at data, and I let, data, not drama, tell me the answer to what I should do with that deal, or if I should even do that deal. Or, a lot of the times we hear the term deal all the time. Like, oh, I have this deal, I have this deal, I have this deal. Let's be very, very careful when we say the word deal, all right? A deal to me means all the interested parties are ready and we're ready to transact. Like, we're ready to sign paperwork, right? Everything else is a lead. And if you haven't even spoken to that person yet, then that's a prospect, okay? So let's be very, very clear on that. So if you have, 123 Main Street on your computer, John Smith is the owner, and you have not made contact with John Smith, do you have a lead? No. The answer is no. That is a prospect. Now, if you have 123 Main Street on your computer and the seller's name is John Smith or his heirs, and you call John Smith and you talk to John Smith, and John Smith says, yeah, I'm interested in some capacity in selling this property, now you got a lead. Now, if you have the same property, John Smith, you've spoken to him, you've spoken about the situation, the problem, etc. Hopefully the problem is a massive problem, because the bigger the problem, the bigger the profit. And John Smith says, yes, I am ready to transact. He will not say that probably. He'll probably say, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it done. How do we move forward, right? Those are closing statements. Now you have a deal ready to be done. Now, if you got all that and you schedule your notary in, whether you get your deed using the RF method or you get a contract signed, etc., but you put pen to paper with the correct decision maker or their heirs, and you execute on those documents, now you got a deal, okay? And then when you do all that and you resell it or you keep it or whatever you do, but now you have a closing. Now you have profit. Now you have a closed deal. Yo, Cash P. Dude, I'm not going to lie. That face that you have there made me kind of poop my pants there for a second. That is a scary little face. It looks like it or something. It's kind of weird to look at. Yo, what's up? Happy Monday, Mr. Will. Yes to the stash. I appreciate that, John. Appreciate that. I've gotten a lot of compliments on this, on the stash. It's people say I look kind of like a villain. I look like the guy that Jim Carrey plays in Sonic. I forgot his name, but the guy that rides in on the egg. What's up, Will? What up, KM? All right, so I am going to walk you through. Do you guys understand what I was speaking about? Was that helpful to you guys, right? Remember, guys, just you got to look at the business that way, okay? Prospects, the difference between prospects, the difference between leads, the difference between deals, and the difference between a closing, okay? Hey, good afternoon. What's up, Brightline? Don't count your dollars till the check clears. That's right. Stash looking good. I appreciate that. Yeah, do not count your dollars. Don't ever count your chickens before they hatch, as they say. Really, don't. I've seen a lot of deals go all the way to the 1 yard line and go and blow up in your face. And it sucks, but it happens. You know, it happens. I had a deal that we closed on Friday, technically funded today, but there's another fun fact for you, by the way. I guess I'm just in a talking mood, and I'll just kind of just throw nuggets at you today. There's like an unwritten rule in real estate, okay? And the unwritten rule is don't schedule closings on a Friday. You just don't do it. Now, where I can avoid it, I always do. Unfortunately, this one was supposed to be a Thursday closing. Then it got moved up to a Friday closing, which ended up meaning that I got funded on Monday. And guess what? I'm still waiting for my funding. So I'll probably get an email at like 6 p.m. saying, hey, funding occurred, and I'll get my money tomorrow. But Friday closings are always next week's closings, okay? I have rarely seen a Friday closing close and fund on that same Friday. It's just, you know, it is what it is. Stash looking good. I appreciate that. So we're going to walk through a potential deal. See that there? A potential deal. Right now it's a lead, a very hot lead. Why? Because my acquisition guy has been on the phone with them several times. They have agreed to price. They have agreed to terms. She has said, send me the documents. Let's schedule the document signing. My man is right at, this is just a Monday for him, but my man is right at the edge of bam, this became a deal. Now, as the numbers sit right now, it's probably a 65K, maybe a 70K deal, depending, well, it might be 65 to 75, depending on where the actual as-is value comes in. Why? Because it is a condo. Not my favorites, guys, okay? I do not like condos. They're not fun. I don't like them. They're a pain in the ass, to be honest with you, especially in South Florida. There's a lot of like assessments going on. There's new laws that passed after what, unfortunately happened in Surfside years ago, right, with the whole building collapse. So especially a beachfront condo, which this one is a beachfront condo, funny enough. So yeah, there's a lot of things that condos have working against them. So I like to grade a deal, right, or leads, right? I grade them, and when I say grade them, I just rank them, really. It's very simple to do. I look at, how many strikes, if you will, the lead has against it, okay? So what I mean by that, I'm about to show you that right now. So strike one for this deal is it's a condo, all right? So I want you to write that down. Condo, strike one, all right? Why? Because we don't like condos for a lot of reasons I'll get into here. Strike two is it's a partition, okay? Now, while I teach how to do partitions, that is part of curative title, that is part of the RF strategy, doing a partition, which, by the way, a partition, if you don't know, is buying a partial interest. That's how you're going to remember it. Partition, partial interest, okay? What that means is, for simple numbers' sakes, and the real example here, we are buying 50% of the ownership in a condo. So think of it as John Smith and Jane Smith. Both of them are on title. Both of them are they're owners of this property, or they're going to be owners if they're heirs, right? One wants to sell, the other one doesn't want to sell, or they can't agree for some reason. Happens all the time in real estate, by the way. People can't even agree to what they want to order for lunch, let alone, selling a property. So you buy 50% or a 10% or a 20% or a 5%. It could be whatever percent, but you buy a partial interest, and then a partition is a legal form or a lawsuit to force the other side to sell. Okay? So you're forcing the sale, yes, I've made millions of dollars by not owning 100% of a property. It happens all the time. It is never taught in wholesaling because that's not how wholesaling works. Curative side, which is the reverse flip side, that works like that all the time. So, but it is a strike, and the reason it's a strike is because they're a pain in the ass, they cost money, and they take time to do them, right? So it's not like a quick thing where you can just get it resolved. This mustache on the right side is really annoying me, and I don't know why. I think my wax is just, my wax is just coming undone. That's it. It's the end of the day for it. Anyway, so it is a strike, okay? So it's a condo, it's a partition, 2 strikes, all right? Days on market is another strike. DOM, write that down. What does that mean? The days that it takes to sell these properties in this condo building is a strike. Rental restrictions is another strike, okay? Why? Condo buildings have rules. They're called bylaws. In this condo building, there's a rental restriction. So the owner has to own the property for over a year in order to rent it out. Why is that important? Because that limits my buyer pool, man. And if I was to keep it for myself, I can't rent it. Not that I would want to, do that anyway, because I hate condos. And hate's a strong word. HOA is really high. So you're going to write high HOA. Strike 5, okay? If this was baseball, we would have been almost out twice, all right? So high HOA and comps are really tough. So comps, iffy, let's write. Okay, so that would be another strike. And I know that there was more strikes to this, but and it needed a probate. Oh yeah, on top of all that, they filed the probate, it needs to be finalized. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. All right, you got 7 strikes on this bad boy. All right, so not off to a good start, but nonetheless, now we're gonna review the deal, and now we're gonna review the numbers on the deal. And then I'm going to tell you guys, hey, this is what I've chosen to do. This is how I've chosen to move forward or not move forward. Exactly what I told my sales guy, and what's going to transpire of this deal, whether I'm going to do it or not do it, okay? So let me pop in the address first things first. Over here, this is the RF Deal Finder app. Condos are always a pain in the butt to look up because the apartments don't really... Here we go. Let's take off APT. There we go. Number 511. All right. Here we go. So they did try to sell this in 2024. As you can see, $399. They've been on the market for 685 days, right? Congratulations to them. They've taken 2 years of their life almost to not sell this per condo. But at least we got pictures. At least we got some pictures. So yeah, is the condo destroyed? No, right? The condition is not bad. It's dated, that's for sure. It's got popcorn ceilings, right? The little kitchen, whatever. So it's definitely dated, but nothing crazy, right? Needs a repair. But some condos are selling in this condition. This is pretty appropriate. This is the building. The realtor thought it was a great job to put an aerial of it, okay? So what kinds of things do we have here? And where would you have found this on your list, right? So this is what you're going to write down. This is the triggers or the motivation for it. So you got a foreclosure. Now, it's not a mortgage foreclosure because this condo is free and clear, by the way. So that's a plus. You could write that down on the plus side. Let's just say that it's not a ball and it's not a strike. I guess it's a hit. So it is in foreclosure. There's an HOA lien, so you could find it on that list too. And it was a deceased owner / probate deal. Okay, so you can write all those down. So you got deceased and probate. Cool. So you would have found it on foreclosure, HOA liens, and deceased probate. You also would have found it on high equity, right? Because it's basically 100% equity minus the HOA liens and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's look through this. We also know that it's June Mullen is the decedent. Okay, so now what are we going to do, guys? A lot of you guys are here very often. So what are we going to do? We're going to run the play. We're going to go check out what the foreclosure, or we're going to look for a probate, and then we're going to look at the foreclosure. So we got June Mullen. Molin. I hope I'm saying that right. We're always filtered for the newest. So you got, this is the probate, okay? And then you have, this is the probate. So you have the active PR. So you have an active petition for administration. Why do I know? It's PRC, probate court. And then you have this. So let's look at the foreclosure first. Remember, the bank is not foreclosing. The HOA is foreclosing, okay? So most important thing is this was filed very improperly. Let's go back. Okay. Here we go. Boom. So here's your foreclosure action. So they actually name everybody, right? So foreclosures are a great place. I always say this. Foreclosures are a great place to get information about like heirs and interested parties. So you do have the defendant, right? And it says the estate of. So if you already didn't know that this was a deceased owner, you'd say, oh, wait a minute. It's the estate of June Molin. Okay, so June is dead. Great. And then it, names everybody else, whatever. Then you have Judith Molin and Glenn Molin. I can only assume that these are probably kids. Okay, so heirs. So, hey, Will, how do I know who to talk to? Bing, 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 right there. Now we're going to go to the complaint. Why? Because we want to see what the hell's going on and what did the HOA, what is the HOA suing for? Because that's all a foreclosure is, guys. It's a lawsuit, okay? So here is the foreclosure, blah, 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 blah. Come on. Should name the amount of money that's owed. 18% interest. They have special assessments, which is another strike. Buildings have special assessments in the amount of $6,131. So through March 2023, okay? But it's a lot higher than that now. By the way, the HOA fees a month on this thing are like $1,600. Yikes. So you have your claim of lien was $6,100 almost 3 years ago. So is that going to be higher or lower? It's going to be a lot higher, right? So now we know. Now, this has been open for a while, so let's take a look at what we got going on here, and let's see if there's anything else. So they haven't, man, this HOA sucks in terms of the lawsuit. They haven't really done anything here. It's probably because of the probate and all that stuff. So anyway, all right. So let's go back. So again, if you have $6,130, right, at 18% per year, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that's been accumulated over the last 3 years. But let's keep going here for a second. I don't want to lose what we've been doing here. There was a doc that I saw before. So let's go back to the case. And let's look at the probate. Okay? So, oh no, my bad. Wrong one. Here we go. Probate. Boom. Bingo. So the representative is Catherine Iacobelli, represented by Barry D. Siegel. This is, well, thank God she lived a long life, right? Here you go. And let's keep going down. So the Pompano Rehabilitation and Nursing Center is also owed $12,200. Okay. And so here's the probate. They have joinders, consent, right? So basically what happened here is one of the heirs wants to sell, the other one doesn't want to sell, and they don't get along. Now, also, what you have here is that we already know this because we spoke, my guy's spoken to the heir several times. The one heir already paid $34,000 in back HOA fees to have this thing not go to auction, okay? So obviously that person wants to be paid back and they are not happy with everything that's going down, okay? So the probate is kind of at a standstill right now. If you look, the last thing that was filed was in August of 2024. There's another gold nugget for you, okay? Anytime I see a probate, this is specific to Florida, but it applies to a lot of other places too. Anytime I see a probate that's been sitting for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, guys, and it was never finished, that is a hot lead in and of itself. Why? Because they tried to do the probate for some reason or another. some crazy thing happened and now they can't sell. So you have a really hot lead in and of itself right there, okay? Now let's go to the HOA lien. Let's just cut the thing. Boop. Here is the HOA lien. Boop, 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 boop. All right, we already looked at that. Great. So we know that $34K is what's owed to the HOA. We know that because, you know, we spoke to the heir, like I said. Hold on a second. What is this? Amount of claim is over $100,000. What the heck is going on here? Versus defendant. Well, who's the defendant? Here we go. This is to extend time in 2024. Oh, that's the case. Okay, that's why. Because they put a different. It's related to a different case, basically. It's very interesting. Because guardian ad litem here, by the way, means that the court, they asked the court to pick a guardian or somebody on behalf of the estate because they didn't have a representative of the estate. Okay, so that's just right here, guardian ad litem. Happens all the time. It has different names in different states. So, motion to appoint. Filing affidavits. Here we go. Let me see if we got something over here. Oh yeah, they bill their attorney's fees, that's for sure. They keep a good accounting of that. All right, so these people track by the minute. And amend case. Here we go. So they're amending the case. Why? They probably did something wrong and they redid the foreclosure. This is a juicy one, guys. Yeah, so interest at the rate of per annum has accrued. Yeah, so you figure from, oh, how did I just lose it? Hold on. You figure that from March 2023, let's call that 3 years, which is 12, 24, 36 months, right? 36 times 1,600-ish is about 50 grand, okay? Plus attorney's fees and stuff. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Anyway, let's go to the comps now, and let's talk about the deal. So this one heir, she wanted 30 grand. We said, absolutely not. Right, the 50% owner, remember this is 50-50, said absolutely not. And we said, look, we will get you back your $34K. Why? Because we know that in a partition we can get it back because she paid for it. So we know that that's just how the law works. So it's very easy. We're going to get this for $0, like us paying her, and we're just going to get her back her $34K. Okay? Now, let's look at this real simply, and you'll see how I come to the numbers. And we're going to keep these comps super tight, right? We're going to draw a nice little, oh. Here we go. We're going to keep the comps right here. And basically you have 412. We have a 2-2. Ours is a 2-2. It's not a 3-2. It's a 2-2, 1,300 square feet-ish. And basically 400, 327, 350, 400. But it's a depreciating market right now. Like these condos are going down in value. So I believe that we can get 275 for this condo. Do I think maybe we could get 300? Yes, but I'm not going to base my numbers off of that. And especially when I'm only getting 50%. So very simply put here, we're going to do 275,000. Remember, that is the as-is value. Like, that's what I think we can sell it for fairly quickly, as is. Fairly quickly meaning in sub 30 days or so, okay? That's what the days on market are telling me. 50%, because we're only getting 50% of 275 is 137,500, okay? Now write that down. So our 50%, this is how I analyze partitions all the time. Our 50% equals a total, potentially, of $137,500. Everybody get that so far? So that is the top end of what our as is worth. Now, my man prepared a nice little calculator, so I'm going to use that. You guys can see this, right? Yup. So 275 minus owing the taxes, 45K, 67K, the HOA, everything total, and 10K for any oops and attorney's fees and stuff like that. And the partition's probably going to cost around 6K. So what we're going to do here, disregard the other numbers. We're going to do here is, hey, the way that all the fees related to this partition, if it's any expenses related or anything that needs to be paid in order to transact on this deal or to get clear title, all that is going to be divvied up 50-50 per the law. We're not going to we're not going to brunt all those costs, right? We're not going to have to pay for them. So you got 45,000 plus 67,000 plus $10,000 in extra fees and stuff like that. So there is a total of $122,000 when all is said and done that is going to be needed to be paid. It's going to be paid, okay, that needs to be paid from this whole situation. Okay, now 50% of that, we're going to have to assume it, okay? So times 50%, oops, sorry, 122 is the total, right? So 122 total times 50% is $61,000. So now from our 137,500, our 50% of the as is, we're going to minus out $61,000. Right off the rip, we know we're going to need to pay that. So that is 137,500 minus 61,000. 76,000, I'm dyslexic today. $76,500 is what we stand to make. So if this lady who wanted $30,000 from the start, if we subtract out $30,000 that we got to pay her on the back end, we're only making $46,500 there. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to do a probate partition on a condo with rental restrictions. HOA is very high. Comps are kind of iffy with high days on market for $46,500. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. I have a minimum deal requirement of $50,000. It's beneath that requirement, and that would be if the deal was fairly easy to do. Okay? So we're not going to do it. However, we're not going to give her $30,000. We're going to give her nothing, basically, and we're going to get her $34,000 that she paid in the partition. Now that makes us $76,500. Now this deal could take a couple weeks because once we file the partition, that other side's tune is going to change, right? And all that. Or I always say with a partition, assume the worst, prepare for the worst, and steal them. Just get them for a cheap enough price that justifies all your time. This very easily could take 6 to 8 months to do. So the number is $76,500. That is the actual profit that we stand to make. It's not a guarantee. We stand to make plus or minus. Now, if this condo sells for $300,000, we're going to make $88,000, right? If it sells for like $310,000, $320,000, we're going to crack the six-figure mark. But I'm not going to base myself off of that. I see too many of you guys being ultra bullish. Oh, yeah, but it's worth $300,000. We could get this and we could get that. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. No. When you're doing this, for as long as I've been doing this, trust me, I always just say, hey, be conservative. Be careful with what's coming down the pike. And I'd rather be wrong in a good way, right? I'd rather be right up front, right? So $76,500 could be a potential $85,000 plus deal. We will do this. We will only do this, and that's what my acquisition guy knows. $0 up front, no risk. I will risk the $1,500 it will take to file the partition, right? And I would do that with any of you on a JV deal. And if it takes 6 months, so be it. It's one out of like 40 that we have in the pipeline. It'll close then. That's cool. We just stack it in the pipeline, drop it on the attorney's desk, and it will move forward as it moves forward. It's not a bad deal, right? Considering that. Does anybody have any questions on that? I just showed you how to make $76,000 plus on not even owning 100% of a house with $0 up front and no risk. It's pretty cool, no? I think it's pretty dope. It's badass. And by the way, a wholesaler or any other person, normal, person would not be able to do this deal because you need to get the deeds, you need to have the partition, you need to know how to buy the partial interest, right? Which this is very curative title related, and obviously that's what reverse flip is. That is the strategy that we use. Does anybody have any questions on this? Because if not, that will conclude tonight's lesson on RF Deal Desk. KM says, nice. I love it. Yeah. And by the way, we have another partition going on in, it was supposed to be a partition in New Jersey, and looks like we're going to get the last remaining heir. The last remaining heir from the deal, and that's like a $250,000 deal. So that's pretty cool. So that's how it works that's the good side of it. Not sure I understand how the bottom line is still 76 after paying 34 to the heir. Yeah, so it's a great question. Remember, we're not paying 34 to the heir. We're going to get the heir's $34,000 that she paid back to the HOA 2 years ago back in the partition. So we're going to get the court to have the other 50% owner pay that back off of their proceeds. So the other 50% is entitled to $137,500. They're going to have to pay them the $34,000 from that. We're not going to pay them that. But our allure and the way that we frame the deal to the seller who's selling us the 50% is, hey, we're not going to give you anything up front. We can't. It's too much risk. However, we can get you back your $34,000. And of course, she doesn't have the money to continue to fight this. She's been at this for almost 3 years, and she doesn't even live here. She lives out of state. This is just a condo that she inherited, which is the equivalent of saying a giant headache for her. So that's how we got to this number and this money. So that's how we get to $76,500. I hope that answers your question. What up, Will? Sorry I'm late to the party. No worries, bro. I know you're working deals out there. Real Equity Masters. John Sudlow, great. All right, guys, so I love it, man. This is a great deal. These deals are everywhere, guys. I mean, they're just everywhere, literally. And we use the RF Deal Finder app to literally build that list. Like I said to you guys, it is on, forget about the cash buyers, just cash buyer because it's owned free and clear. Free and clear, recently delinquent, tax delinquent, right? HOA liens and a deceased probate list. It was there. It was sitting for everybody. It was on the MLS. I guess you could have also looked up long-term listings, things that have been listed for over a year. That's also a really good list to go after, believe it or not. So this list was there for everybody. This lead was there for everybody. I'll keep you guys posted on this one. As always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We are over 1,000 subscribers, and I'm super excited about that. If you're here for the first time and you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel, man. Like, subscribe, share. I give a lot of nuggets here, and I think we put up a tremendous amount of value on these calls. And these people that are always here, appreciate you guys. They will tell you. If you ever have a deal you want to submit, just scan that QR code. And if you ever wanted to know what app we use, rfdealfinder.com. It's right there on the bottom. We have a couple hundred users now, which is pretty cool to say. And people are getting deals, man, left and right from them. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 5 to 6. Every weekday, 5 to 6, we go live. And Saturdays, 12 to 1. Have a great night, guys. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.